Today I wanted to do a quick video on the Swerve Technique. I just wanted to demonstrate it quickly for you. The Swerve Technique is one of those techniques that I call essential for any person operating a two-wheeled vehicle. So I'm not just talking about motorcycles. Whether you're riding a bicycle, scooter, moped, or motorcycle, Swerve Technique is something that you need to learn how to perform. And believe it or not, if you've been operating a two-wheel vehicle long enough, you've performed the Swerve Technique before. But before I can talk about the Swerve Technique, I have to first discuss countersteering, because countersteering is a component of the Swerve Technique. Countersteering is counterintuitive, and so the way it's spoken of makes it often difficult to understand, but believe it or not, you've done this before. And after I get through discussing it, hopefully if I do it well enough, you'll understand what I mean by you having done this before. The countersteering technique has one major purpose, and I'm going to put it in my own words. But before I can do that, I just want to describe it. If I'm looking to make a left-hand turn, let's say I'm riding above 15 miles per hour, and that's something I should have mentioned first off. Countersteering is something that you'll do when you're 15 miles per hour or above. You won't countersteer if you're below that, because you actually need to be traveling a good rate in order to countersteer. But if I'm traveling 20 miles per hour, I want to make a quick left-hand turn. I have two choices. I can attempt to make a quick left-hand turn by simply leaning my weight over the bike to get the bike to lean so that now I can make my left-hand turn. Or I can countersteer in order to do that. Now the problem with just leaning my weight over to the left to get my bike to turn to the left is that the bike and its very nature, especially when I'm traveling straight forward, its momentum makes the bike very stable. It wants to remain straight upright. And so when I lean to get the bike to turn, I'm now fighting against the bike's natural tendency to remain upright. That means that my turn is going to be very wide, and it won't be very sharp or quick. Countersteering allows me to use the bike and its dimensions and its weight against itself to get the bike to lean against its natural tendency. Now what I mean by that is if I'm traveling straight forward, I'm going 20 miles per hour, countersteering is not so much that if I'm trying to turn left, it's not that I'm really turning the wheel to the right. It's that I'm pushing down on the left-hand side of the bike to get the bike to lean faster. Now, when I push down on this side, it does cause the wheel to slightly turn to the right, but it's only a slight turn. Now, if my momentum is carrying me straight forward and I push down on the left hand of the bike, get the wheel to turn just slightly to the right, which is opposite of the direction I'm trying to turn. My momentum is going straight forward. I've now turned the wheel just slightly to the right. The bike naturally falls over to the left. Because my momentum is carrying me forward, I'm turning the wheel slightly in this direction. The bike wants to naturally fall to that side. As it's falling to that side, I immediately readjust the wheel to straight or slightly turn in the direction where I want to go. And in that way, I've now got the bike to lean faster than it would if I had just leaned my weight over to that side. And now I can hit my quick left-hand turn. Hopefully that makes sense. The whole idea behind a countersteering technique is to make the bike lean faster than it would under normal circumstances. So I'm just going to demonstrate it real quickly, and you'll see that it's a very, very slight and quick turn in the opposite direction. It's almost unnoticeable, but when you see it, you'll realize that you've done this before. So I'm going to get the bike up to about 20 miles per hour. Okay, that's a quick countersteer. All right. Now, I'm going to extend the discussion to talk about Swerve Technique. The Swerve Technique is a double countersteering maneuver. What I mean by double countersteer is that if I'm trying to avoid an obstacle, again, I'm traveling above 15 miles per hour, I have an obstacle immediately in front of me, I'm trying to avoid the obstacle by swerving around it. I have to perform a double countersteer technique. What that means is the first countersteer is where I press down on either side. I can press down on the right or the left depending upon the way in which I want to initiate the swerve. I press down to avoid. I press down, which causes the steering wheel to point away. It gets the bike to lean, and then I readjust by pressing down on the opposite side to get my weight back and put myself back in line to the direction I'm trying to travel. All right, I'm going to demonstrate it real quickly. And what you'll see is that it's a countersteer in one direction with a readjustment countersteer in the opposite direction. And that's what a swerve technique is about. It's something that you have done before, but probably just haven't thought about it in a technical sense. But it's something that I suggest that we practice, because you will perform it on a number of occasions. I've done it so many times, and now, I'm able to do it without really thinking about it. I see the obstacle as I'm approaching it, and am able to adjust, swerve around it, and end up right back in the line of traffic, which is where I want to be in the first place. So I'll do a quick swerve, and as a matter of fact, there's a little patch of concrete ahead of me here, so I'll swerve around that, because that'll make it a little easier. Give a visual. What you saw was an immediate swerve, which involved a countersteering technique. It was an immediate countersteer to my left, followed by a readjustment countersteer back to the right in order to get the bike back underneath me. I didn't lean in either direction. What I did is I moved the bike in the direction I wanted it to go. I didn't have to shift my weight to the right or to the left, because when you're traveling, especially at a high rate of speed, you won't have time to lean. You just have to move the bike. And that means I have to press down on one side of the bike to get it to turn, and then readjust by pressing it down on the other side. And so I'll try it once again to the opposite side. Okay. That's a swerve technique, and you can use that to avoid minor obstacles in the way, and also avoid the back of a vehicle. If someone comes to a quick stop in front of you, you're unable to match them by stopping, you have to swerve around them. And again, it'll save your life. It has mine on a few occasions.